This is A Silent War Within, the podcast dedicated to confronting the unseen mental health battles carried by our first responder and healthcare heroes. This show is about real stories, real struggles, and real ways to survive the storm and come out stronger on the other side. For too long, stigma has kept you silent. But this is your space to bravely break that silence, share vital insights, and build a community where your well-being truly comes first. Because your service deserves unwavering support.
All right, welcome to A Silent War Within. Thanks for joining us today. We have a very special guest with us today, as well as my co-host Kim. Kim, how are you? We are having fun. We've been hanging out with our guests all day, and we've all got the giggles because of it. It has been a really good day. We really enjoyed having her here in Memphis. We went to eat. We've had a good time. We've had some good conversations. So, Mattie, tell us a little bit about you.
So, I'm Mattie. I have been in EMS for 11 years. I have been a paramedic for 4. Recently obtained my flight medic certification. Hopefully next month we'll get my critical care as well. They're very expensive, by the way.
They are very expensive, yes.
They're very expensive, but very well worth it. Hopefully, eventually, we'll be a flight medic, and that's on the goal. I have 3 children. My daughter's 11. My boys are 9 and 6. I'm a single mom. Being a single mom in EMS is not for the faint of heart. Being a single mom in general is not for the faint of heart, but in EMS,
definitely in
it's
EMS,
a different set of challenges because you have something like this was very necessary because no one ever really wants to talk about all the things that we're told to not talk about.
So now you can ask us the questions you asked us a minute ago.
What made y'all want to do this?
So we've told this story a few times, and I'll let Kim start because she is the motivator behind all of it.
And it started to actually freak me out. I was having panic attacks back-to-back days that I was home and nonstop. I'd go to the gym, I'd do all the normal things, take my bath, try to hang out with kids, find a distractor, and it wasn't going away to the point that I did remember me and Kevin's worked together for 10 years, but at a point during COVID, he was trying to get a mental health program started up here and actually texted me asking about it, to which I answered.
She was kind of hateful.
I was like, you mean like refer people to counselors?
Not really. I mean, I told her, I was like, it's like peer-to-peer, peer support. That's a peer program.
A lot of things going on that he wasn't aware of, but I also didn't want to talk about it either. And so I was kind of bitching on it. I'm being honest.
What? At least you're honest about it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I was talking about it, and I was just projecting my own emotions onto him about, like, I need help. That's kind of how I felt. It was like, I need help. I started a program. I'm probably the first one that needs to sign up, but I didn't want to admit to it because Kevin had changed over the course of time. Prior to this lovely new and updated, more healed version of Kevin, there was a very angry Kevin, and I think he caught me on my very angry Kim.
My struggles always comes out as anger and rage versus crying or whatever. I mean, I do cry, don't get me wrong, but it's usually anger first. So she saw that side of me. I've told this story before, but my very last eval, my boss said, do you know how many times you have told me to F off in the last year? I was like, no, I don't keep count. And he immediately responded 37. So 37 in a year might be a record, but not one necessarily to be proud of.
Nothing was getting better, and all I could think about is what everybody else has told me before. I should probably go talk to a counselor. And then in my mind, like it's played out a million times, why in the hell do I want to do that? Because most of the counselors I've been to just stare at me blankly, and I feel like I need to help them by the end of it.
Yeah.
So what I did was took a chance because I know that we share similar backgrounds. And I was like, I think Kevin might be a good person to reach out to. And I said, hey, man, like what we had a few days ago, I'm not getting any better. And I feel like I don't know what I need to do, but I need some form of help. And so feeling embarrassed, the first thing he said was, "Oh, hey, that's actually signs of PTSD." And started to talk through everything I was feeling and normalizing it. And I was like, huh, like this kind of actually helped. And he gave me some resources, told me a counselor that I could call that he had been to that's trauma informed. And I didn't ever end up calling a counselor because back then we had to break with each other about it. I felt a lot better. So a couple of days later, I had heard him on a hospital podcast, happened to be at the office, and I was like, well, shoot, that's Kevin. And I started thinking about it, and he used to do radio a long time ago, so I sent him a message.
A long time ago.
I said, what do you think? What do you think about doing podcasts? And he was like, well, I don't even know where I'd start. And so I said, what about mental health? You seem to be pretty good at that. And he said, well, why don't we do it? And what would we call it? And I started thinking about it, and I was like, what about a silent war within? Because here I am hiding out, texting you, not wanting to tell anybody else what was going on. And I'm sure I'm not the only person.
And that's all I needed, because 20 minutes later, she had Amazon pictures coming to her of all the stuff that I had ordered. I only needed just that little shove to do it, because I always wanted to do a podcast. I just never knew how to get started. Like she said, I'd done radio when I was 19, 20, 21. Those 3 years I was in radio, very small radio station, but still radio. And never thought about doing anything after that. And once I started getting into podcasts, I was like, this is cool. I like this. I want to do this. But never would take the leap. One thing that I think, so for those of you who don't know Mattie Ann, she's got 200 and some few thousand followers. When I actually initially reached out to you, you said, I don't know why people listen to me.
I actually started talking about it as a way to hold myself accountable, because there were so many conversations that I was having with myself that I was like, okay, I feel like I would be so much further in life had someone else said this to me. Had someone else been like, hey, it's okay. You're okay. You're going to be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but let's break this down. Let's talk about this. All the things you're feeling are normal. And I keep having to, I guess, have that calming conversation with myself. And so I just kind of started talking. Like I turned the camera around so I don't have to look at myself, and I just talk. And somehow people started relating to it. And they would come up to me like at work, or, just even picking my kids up from school and being like, hey, I just want to tell you thank you for that message the other day. Like I really needed to hear that. And it just kind of started sitting with me like, you listened to something I said and it mattered? Like when you grow up the way I did, it's very dismissive behavior. Like, oh, your feelings aren't important. If you're crying, I'll give you something to cry about, those types of behavioral things. And you're put in a room to cry alone. And I feel like that's kind of what EMS does to us. And I don't think it was ever intentional. I think we all just suffered so much that no one ever actually wanted to talk about it, because it either made us look weak or made us seem like we were unfit for duty.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is such a stigma that is plagued EMS, that if you actually talk about it, someone's going to be like, oh, you're crazy. You can't do this job. Or, oh, you have PTSD. You can't do this job. When that's not the truth. The truth is sometimes you just need someone like you had with him to just say, hey, that's normal. You can't do this job and witness the things that we do and go through the things we do and still remain a normal human. You can't do it. There's no way.
No, I'm convinced, and I've read numerous studies, this job chemically alters your brain.
It does.
Absolutely does, because we see some of the worst things that we never thought as teenagers or as young kids. You never think, I'm going to see somebody's head disconnected from their body. Or, you just don't think that.
A patient trigger me into a PTSD episode, or like some kind of emotional response where I tied one child back to another child. Like I have the separation to where, and maybe it's different for other people, but I can be in the middle of chaos and I never think about a past call or something that affected me. All I'm focused on is that child at hand and about how I can best serve them and help them. And then after the fact, I'll start to feel effects of it, but I never bring it back to work with me. It seems to be where I suffer it is at home.
And see, mine's always the senses, the other senses. It's not me sitting there thinking about it. It's, and you and I talked about it on the first episode, and it was one of the more popular clips that we put out there, the mother scream clip. And if you've never heard a mother scream, thank God for you. Because when a mother loses their child, there is a guttural, instinctual scream that you just cannot get out of your head. And I've told this story before, but there was a commercial that has a mother scream on it. And it was one of those, you know, public service ads that play on TV. And I heard that and immediately like chills, sick at my stomach, like had that response, to what I heard. And I was just rattled by it. And it was wild, but it's always the smells. You know, you hear firefighters say, if you ever smell a dead body, or even EMTs and paramedics, when we've seen it, that smell does not leave your nose. So it's those type of things that really define our mental health, and knowing what your triggers are and how to deal with them. Kim, you know, had that call, and it just brought a ton of weight down onto her. And she was thinking depression. She was thinking all these things, but in reality, it was just the event. Sure, there was more that went into, you know, why she was triggered, but the event is what just kind of, you know, avalanched everything else and buried her. And when she reached out to me, it was very obvious where she was. She's like, I can't get it together. But that's kind of how we got here. But I think for you, one of the reasons you have 200,000 followers plus and people listen to you is after spending a day with you and talking with you through text and phone conversations and everything else for the last month, people are searching for authenticity. And you are likely one of the most authentic people I've ever seen. We expect that this episode. So, have tissues. Tim, Kim, get Tim. I called you Tim. Tim, get the tissues. So we're doing something a little different for this particular episode. Usually about a week before, right there. Look, behind the frog. No, don't let her rub her eyes with those. Usually about a week before every episode, I'll send out a guide that's just talking points. It's not, because we always want this to be conversational and authentic, but we want to have some kind of structure to it as well. After having conversations with these two in a group chat, I realized that was not going to be a possibility. This is probably going to be the most rabbit chasing episode you guys have ever heard, because we're probably going to be all over the place. I've got a general structure in my head, but whether I can get these two to stick to it we'll see. So we'll press on. But I think especially after COVID, we realized we couldn't trust the healthcare systems we work for. We reused masks here for 14, 21, 28 days at some point. Yeah, that's kind of kidding. But yeah, I mean, so we had those were awful. And it was so hot. Do you see how big I am? Can you imagine me in one of those the zip up suits? Don't imagine that. Yeah. Well, it was not good. And I got off the team right after 2020 started and went into dispatch, because I'll be honest, I couldn't hack it. Like I was mad over a bunch of different stuff. But I think through 2020 and all that happened there, we realized we couldn't trust the media. We couldn't trust our employers. We couldn't hardly trust anybody but ourselves. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times that I got text some false information from even a friend that was panicking or freaking out. When 2020 started, my wife and I went to the grocery store to panic buy like everybody else. And we always joke and say, if anybody falls out, you're a teacher, I'm a banker. So I've got my cover job. And of course I'm like, look, if somebody falls out, we don't know if they got COVID. We don't know if they're contagious. We don't know anything. Like, this is all a whole new world right now, because we were a little panicked too. I still have my tinfoil hat on, but we're not going to get into all my conspiracy theories. However, this lady passes out at the register. Right? So we're standing in line, and I'm, kind of looking around. I'm like, somebody over here has got to be medical other than me. I was like, don't do it. And my wife, above this bustling crowd, goes, he's a paramedic. And I'm like, who are you? And I joke with her, and I said, I couldn't even trust you. You couldn't even hold up the lie. But I think the reason, past that little funny, the reason you have 200,000 followers is because you're authentic, and people are genuinely searching for the genuinely authentic. And you have a way that you talk that you are just staring into the camera, and it's like you're bearing your soul to these people. And you do. And people have lived your life with you for the past few months. And that's been a difficult journey for you. I've followed you for the last few months, and I have cried with you, cried with you for some of your struggles and your journey. And listening to you still, I don't know how you do it, because the things that you've been through, and we'll get into that, but the things that you've been through, there's no way that I could make a video telling everybody else that it's going to be okay, or that you're going to get through it, or that you can still do this. You are incredibly strong, and I am so thankful for that, because there are probably hundreds of thousands of people that your message has helped. And I'm one of them, so thank you.
Well, I'm very grateful for that.
Are you crying already?
Because that's the whole point. That is the whole point of bearing my soul to the internet. And it's so hard. But again, like I said, I started it as accountability to myself. And then when I realized that so many people actually feel the same way that I do.
Uh-huh.
And we feel so alone, and we're so separated, and we're so, I guess, put in this little box, and we feel like we're just trapped in there alone. In reality, if we actually start looking around, there's more people in there with us. And we all feel the exact same way. And if we actually talked about it, then maybe we wouldn't feel so alone all the time. And so many people wouldn't choose to leave this world feeling alone. And I think that's part of why I've been so open about all of our struggles. One, because had someone been open about the situation before we got involved, that would have never happened to us. If someone would have talked about it and said something, I would have never been in that situation. And I think that's why I wanted to be as open about it as I was, because, one, it happens so much. I have thousands, and I mean thousands, of messages from people all the time saying, I've been in the exact same situation as you, except for either they didn't get any kind of justice or their mom didn't believe them.
Yeah. So, do you mind sharing?
I don't at all. I was married straight out of high school. I had 3 children with my ex-husband. We were married for 7 years, and then we got divorced. I got remarried, and where people are very good at pretending to be someone they're not. After we got married, I realized that I married someone that I didn't know, and that he was a monster, for lack of a better term. He sexually abused my daughter. And it was only about a 2-week span that all of these things started, from the time that it started to the time that I turned him in. because I could just feel it in my spirit. I noticed a change in my daughter. I noticed a change in our household. And it's hard to explain. Like, unless you have lived in that, you don't know how to explain it to people. And I just felt it. And I would address things, and he would tell me that I was crazy and that I was gaslighting, that I was projecting, and he would gaslight me into believing that I was insane. Like, I was to the point that I had called my doctor. I was going to get back on medicine. I had called a new therapist. Like, I was like, something is wrong with me. I had conversations. I had 3 kids. He had 3 kids. I had conversations with all of them. Like, this is a good touch. This is a bad touch. Anything that makes you uncomfortable is automatically a bad touch. Doesn't matter who it is. Like, when in depth with all of them, they're all, like, why are you, what is going on? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I can't decide if this is a personal problem or if this is something else has happened and the universe is just trying to tell me. But I felt insane until my daughter called me while I was at work at 7:12 p.m., which they never stayed with him. They always stayed with their Nana. She's the only person I've ever let keep them. And she called me at 7:12 and told me what had happened and confirmed every ounce of the fear and just the crazy dreams and just unhinged thoughts that I was having. And she confirmed every bit of it. And I was off my ambulance and at the police station at 7:56, and I never spoke to him again. I filed a PFA. We filed charges. He is now going to prison. But I think that...
So that's done. He is going to prison.
His court date is August 25th. He had his plea agreement revoked because he did not stand up for the things that were in the plea agreement. But yes, as of right now, that's the hope, that he is going to prison for the remainder of his sentence and not eligible for parole until 2030. So I guess that's what I want to encourage people to as well, is fight. No one's going to fight for you the way you're going to fight for you. No one will ever fight for my daughter the way that I have, because no one fought for me. No one came to save me. No one came to get me out of that box. No one came to drag me out of that roach-infested trailer of all the awful things that happened to me when I was a kid. And I had to fight for myself, and they will never have that story. They will never have to fight the way that I have. And that's why I want to be as open about things as I can be within my own realm of personable things, or I guess comfort more so, because you have to fight for you. You have to advocate for yourself. You are allowed to tell your story. You are allowed to talk about the bad calls. You are allowed to talk about all of the awful things that happened to you, because if they didn't want you to talk about them, they shouldn't have done them. And that goes along with EMS too, because we're told so often, like, oh, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about this. We don't talk about that. Talk about it. Talk about everything. Even if you think it's not important, talk about it. Just, had you not taken all of those little calls that you thought didn't matter and shoved them in the back in that trunk that you just gathered and you drug around, it's the little tiny things that you think aren't going to bother you that just come back.
Come back and you blow up, or you have a breakdown.
My big thing when all of that happened was when my daughter came in and she was so excited to tell me that I had Oreos without you. And I know that sounds so insignificant, but when he looked at her and he said, so much for our secrets. And I said, you two don't have secrets. And I am not an aggressive person. I'm not at all. But I immediately felt the need to be aggressive. I stood up off the couch and I was ready to fight over Oreos.
That was an instinct.
Yes. And my spirit was like, Mattie, like, what is going on? And then it caused a huge fight, and it was a big issue, and I couldn't understand why. And so I ignored my intuition. I ignored what my brain was actually trying to tell me, because my heart didn't want to listen. It was like, no, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're making this stuff up. You're outside your mind. Like, why are you doing this? You're projecting your own unhealed trauma, which I've dealt with my trauma for the most part. I thought I had.
I'm sure this brings up a whole...
Until it...
Yeah, this scrapes the scab off big time.
It did. It ripped open the whole wound and made me realize that all of the things that I thought hadn't bothered me, I've been carrying around for 15, 20 years. They were just sitting there, lying dormant, waiting. Because if you don't deal with the monsters in your life and you think you can just ignore them, the universe will just replace them until you actually deal with it. In all of the different forms, it's going to keep coming back and keep coming back until you defeat that monster, that demon, whatever you want to call it, until you actually deal with it and defeat it. The universe will keep sending you the same lesson over and over and over again until you actually deal with it. Until you say, hey, I'm not doing this with you.
I say you can run from it, but you can't hide from it. You can numb it.
Yeah.
But eventually it's going to come up and bite you in the butt.
Yep. So if you don't mind me asking, how's your daughter holding up during this? Because that's...
we had a...
I'm sure.
And
yeah.
Yeah, to an extent.
Well, I'm going to tell you why she said it, because she found out how to be a warrior from her mama. Because she shouldn't have to. That should never happen to any child. She definitely saw you fight for her, and that makes a huge, huge impact on the healing journey that she'll be on for the rest of her life. So I respect you for doing what you did. And it's, we see it every day being in pediatrics. There are lots of people out there that don't have your fight. There are lots of people out there that we watch it happen to their child over and over and over. And it is heartbreaking, and it is sad, and it is trauma that we carry because we see it. And that's probably one of the most disastrous calls and situations that we hear about and go on a daily basis, literally on almost a daily basis. That's is one sad and courageous, and there's so many adjectives you could use to describe that story. I am so thankful that you were willing to share that. And it takes a lot of strength to do what you're doing. So I guess my question is, since you've walked through this, how does it change you? How does it change you as a mother? How does it change you as a paramedic? How does it change you as a person in general? Because that's a huge traumatic situation to have to walk through. And I know just a couple of weeks ago, you shared that there's numerous videos. I'm not doing well today. So where do you run when you're not doing well? Because it's really hard to be there for somebody 24/7, like you're having to be for your daughter, and still have the courage enough to say, I'm not okay too. So how does it change you? How do you heal?
I talk to God a lot.
Yeah.
And I think in all this, I ran from him because I was angry for a while. I'm like, why did you let this happen? I did everything right. I've done everything you've asked of me. I have protected them. My daughter is 11. She was obviously 9, 10 at the time. I've never hired a babysitter. I don't go out. I don't do things. I protected them. Like, how could you still allow this to happen? And that was when he said, I did not allow this to happen. This happened because of free will. And you can either sit here and rot with it, or you can do something about it. And so I got up and I said, okay. And obviously I have those days where
Sure.
I'm not okay.
Sure.
I'm not okay. And I'll have my pity party because I'm just tired. Some days I wake up and I'm like, well, crap, I woke up again. But.
And I think what we've done for so long is we have stigmatized those days.
Yes.
I think if we're honest, sitting around this table, I know the three of us can say, but I think the majority of people that will listen to this likely have those days too. I think if I personally think that if you don't have those days, something's equally as not right. Because you have turned off. And that's, that was something nobody ever told me. One of the things that we wanted to do with this show is have people on here that were, one, popular, that people knew. You're the homecoming queen of TikTok now. So, and we do get a lot of our guests off of TikTok, and that's because that has become the communication platform. But one thing we always wanted to do with this show was to have people on that were willing to tell the hard stories and have the hard conversations. Kim and I have both struggled with different things. I was, like I said on the episode with Sophie, I don't think I was an alcoholic, but I was definitely drinking to drown my sorrow. And I've been in that rut too. But I think that we've diminished so much the power in just saying, to come alongside somebody and say, let me tell you my story. Because, yeah, I'm in a place of success now, and I look good, and I seem like I'm doing good. But let me tell you all the days that are not good. Let me tell you all the things that I did that were not good. And let me tell you what I did to heal from that. I think making that platform that somebody like you can come on and tell that story and show your healing is imperative to us ever getting over the mental health crisis that we currently live in. And I think it is a crisis, and we talk about it every show because it's the basis of what we do, obviously, but more so because it's important to us. I think the hardest part is the self journey and the self healing and the self talk. I tell everybody this. I've told Kim this. Self talk is probably the most important thing we do. And I don't know if you talk to yourself
all the time,
24/7. After spending the day with you, I kind of had my suspicions that you were going to be one. Yeah. But I think people get into the mindset of negative self-talk.
Yes.
But I also think that, and this is why I love TikTok so much, TikTok has become a form of therapy for me, especially starting a kind of mental health first responder, because there are hundreds of first responders out there that are starting to open up and talk about their bad days. I do too. So from a Silent War Within's page, that's what our feed is full of. And I sit there and just watch. And I'm like, there are so many people that need to hear Mattie's story, that need to hear EMS Avenger's story, that need to hear why Daniel Sundial from Danson drew that piece of artwork. Like, there are so many people that need to hear that hard story. So how long have you been in EMS? Let's shift a little bit from all the hard stuff, and let's talk about some of the EMS journey that you've had. 11 years. So, Kim, you're at 13. This is your 20 for me. Am I the oldest in the room? I know I'm older than her. How old are you? 41. No, you're definitely the oldest. You take the cake.
It's a 15-month thing. I got.
But she doesn't look it. EMS Avenger was like, I would have thought you were in your 20s. And I'm like, she's not. She's definitely not.
I'm 32. I feel like I'm like 63 though.
My spirit's 20. My mental health is definitely pushing 70.
Yeah, that's more.
And see, I'm the opposite. I think my mind still tells me, and I've had numerous injuries because of this mentality, that I'm still a football player in high school. Not in the physical shape I was in high school, nor is the 3 slip disc in my back 18 again.
Just said I had the spine of a 70-year-old, and I was like, I believe that.
Yeah. And we know why. But I think one of the things that EMS does to you is it grows your resilience. Do you have any of those calls that stick out in your mind that you could share that really changed who you were and changed how you saw EMS? Because there's been days I wanted to quit. Like, there's been days that
I think the hardest reality to grasp in EMS is we devote our entire selves, our entire life, our mental health, our spirit, our well-being to the protection of humankind. So when you run specific calls and you realize just how awful some of humankind is, you have to question, why am I doing this? Why am I sacrificing my well-being for a humanity that is inherently awful? And obviously, you guys being in pediatrics, you guys see it more often than not, just how awful humanity actually is to a degree and how awful they can be. And I have a couple times, especially in domestic violence situations, because, again, that's something that I did live through. And that's a hard thing to talk about. But that could have been me. And I think that's where I have to separate myself, but at the same time remind myself that I am human and I did survive that and it's okay to talk about it. But there's one call specifically where we got called out where it was supposed to just be a domestic violence situation. And then it turned very quickly into a trauma arrest. And we were like, what? What is happening here? What is going on? Well, so we go on scene and we didn't know that the scene wasn't safe. So we go into this this factory, and it's just me and my partner. And she and I both are like, what is going on? And all that's there is one cop car. So it's me, her, and 2 police officers. Well, everyone's yelling and screaming and running around, and we see PD over there, and we think that PD is the one that's got, our patients. We're going toward them, and they start screaming at us to get back. And then we see them dragging this man across the parking lot, and it's just a big mud pit, and they're dragging him across it, and they're screaming at us still. And they're like, she's over here, she's over here, she's over here. And I was like, what is going on? And so we get over there, and I have very rarely ever in my career prayed for someone to be dead. But when you walked in the building, all you could smell was blood and sawdust. And I could see her injury, and I could see the pattern on the wall of what had happened. I just kind of stood there for a second, and I was like, God, please let her be dead. Please don't let anybody go through this and survive this right now, because no one deserves that. And so I get over there to her, and there's probably at least 5 feet of blood everywhere. And I stopped, and my supervisor was calling me, and she was like, hey, area vac's over you. Like, what is going on? And I was like, where are you? And I hung up on her, and we canceled area vac, obviously, because I stood there and I pronounced her at the scene. And that was the moment that I really was like, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? Is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? And I had to come back to the track, and I had to have to come to Jesus with myself, where I was like, are you sure? Are you sure this is what you want to do? Because that changed my entire perspective, because she was at work in a factory full of people, and she thought she would be safe enough to break up with him over the phone. And he came into her workplace, and he took a hammer to her in front of everyone. And granted, they're on a conveyor, so she's down here by herself, and they're a good distance away. But in the 45 seconds it took for them to run,
the damage is done.
And there was no... I had someone else's brain matter and blood on my pants, and I just didn't know right then. I was like, is this what you want to do? And that's when, again, I had to talk to God. And he said, you couldn't save her, but think about all of the lives that you can't save. Because that could have been you. Had you not gotten out when you did, that would have been you. And I think that's part of why I, again, talk about these things, is because, one, I have it on perspective. And then I have it from a professional perspective where I can see both sides of things, and I can look at you and say, hey, as someone who has been here, I know you did not hit your face on the dash. I know you did not fall down those stairs.
Yeah.
I know you did not trip on that knife. Like you do not have to lie to me.
Yeah.
Because I already know.
So if you're, they keep hitting chairs. Well, yeah. So say you're making a TikTok video and you're talking directly to a paramedic who is in that spot, who is in that, just seen the worst thing I've ever seen. Don't know if I want to do this anymore. How do you mentally wrap your head around that? How did you mentally wrap your head around? I mean, I know talking to God, but after that, like, those images don't go away.
They don't. They live with you forever.
Like, I sit here and looked in your eyeballs the whole time you were telling that story, and they're still in there. Yeah. And we've all got some. So, I mean, what do you say to somebody who is literally thinking about, this ain't for me?
What made you want to do this to begin with? Every ounce of your being.
So what was your why?
I was a baby. I was really little. I was 6 years old. Mom wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and her face went into the dash, and it cracked her nasal passage and licked into her brain. And they did not do a head CT. They took her to the hospital, brushed it off. We went home, and I got up the next morning for school, and I couldn't find her. And the entire house smelled like watermelon and vomit. And I couldn't find my mom. I searched all over the house, and I called my dad's cell phone because he worked nights and he was on his way home. And I was little. I mean, I was little. And I said, I can't find Mom. And he said, what do you mean you can't find Mom? And I told him, and she had fallen. So their bed was only about this far from the wall. She's only like 5'2.5", pushing 5'3". And she was probably a good 220, 230. And she had somehow fallen behind the bed. And we had called EMS, and I just remember them saying, she's dead. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, and that was just the part that I had heard. Is that, oh, well, she's dead. And obviously I was a kid, that my mom's dead. Like, what? And granted, she's my grandmother. They raised me. They're my mom and dad. But I just remember seeing them, and then they started dragging her out, and they realized she was breathing, and then they gathered her up in this sheet. They drug her out of the house, and I was like, oh my God, I could never do that. I could never do that job. But somehow I think that stayed with me for so long because it just drastically changed who I was as a person, even at a young age. And so when I got up and I was in different situations where I would encounter EMS, and it wasn't a good experience. I was like, yeah, I would definitely do better than y'all in these situations. And the universe was like, all right, bet. So I joined the fire department, and the fire department was like, hey, we don't have any EMTs here, like none in this entire section of the county. If we pay for your school, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I got a 3-month-old. It's cool. I'll go. That's fine. And so I did.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. Yeah, of course I did. And so I went, and I couldn't imagine ever doing anything else. And I held on to all of those times where I said to myself, I would do so much better than you in this situation. I would do so much better than you. And I have. And I hold on to that because for us, it's a casual Tuesday. And for them, it is the worst day of their life. And that little 6-year-old girl, I wish someone would have looked at me and said, baby, your mom is not dead. I wish someone would have saw me in that moment and just recognized that I was a human being and I needed someone to tell me what was going on. And so I try to make sure that even if I am dealing with my patient, that if there's a little kid on scene or there's someone there that just looks terrified and has what is happening look on their face, I'm like, hey, do you understand what's happening? Like, do you get what's going on? Like, what can I do to help you? Like, we get so caught up in the medical side of things that we forget about the human side of things. And that's, I guess, you be very careful what you tell the universe you will and won't do, because
they'll test you.
Bet.
Yeah. Mine was a little different. I was always that kid at the parades that were looking at the ambulances and going, that's cool. I want to do that. And then after I did the fire department thing, it turned into, I really enjoy helping people. I really enjoy making people feel like they're seen and they're heard. So very similar. And we realized that Mattie and I have very similar life stories. Her grandmother raised her, mine did, me as well. And the names are very similar. So what was the outcome for your mom at that time?
Well, she was in a coma for a while, but she did eventually come.
We talking like months or weeks?
Months.
Oof.
She did eventually come home, and I learned at a very young age to be a caregiver.
Yep.
Yeah. So I took care of her my whole life. But she was never the same after that. She wasn't. I think she is the cause of majority of my childhood trauma, but eventually you just have to realize that they were human too. They were human too.
Yeah. And see, my childhood trauma is always from my dad, and not my biological dad. He and I are still very close, but my great uncle that raised us. So my great aunt and great uncle took us when I was 2 and my sister was newborn, or they got her when she was newborn. She's 4 years younger than me. And he was born in 1936. So he was very rough around the edges. And I don't think he ever really knew how to take care of a child. So, and he would hit you with whatever was close to him. I've gotten spankings with extension cords, fishing poles. Those little eyes on the fishing poles.
Metal ashtrays.
I never got metal. I've had a few glass ashtrays thrown at me. Yeah.
Hold up in cigarettes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of my childhood trauma came from his side and not really having, and my real dad was an over the road truck driver. So he was there every other weekend, maybe less. I mean, he taught me the value of work because he always provided for his family. And he and I were talking, and I told him, we usually go down there on Sunday. I said, hey, Dad, I'm not coming this Sunday. And it was really funny because I sent him one of your videos as I'm interviewing this girl, and he's my dad. He said, you know what? You interview that girl. He said, you tell her I said hello. I was like, Dad. Yeah. I guarantee you he followed. Yeah. He's like, I totally understand why you're missing. I wouldn't come either. He said, I wouldn't even show up. But he also told me yesterday, he said, son, you missing Sunday dinner. He said, by the time I sat down and calculated out. He said, by the time you're 40, 43, he said, you and I'll be even. You will have missed as much of my stuff as I missed of yours. I said, but yours was for work. So I never faulted him for that. But his response to seeing your face was like the best. I was like, this is the greatest. And I know he's going to listen to this because he's so supportive of this whole journey. I knew in my mind I was going to fit that in there somehow. But when you talked about family trauma, I was like, oh, this is the perfect time to lighten the mood a little bit. This is great. Kim, you're mighty quiet over there. You got.
Never told anybody this, but I was molested when I was 4 also. And nobody ever advocated for me either. I was raped when I was 16 and nobody ever knew, by multiple people locked in a dark basement. My best friend died when I was 16 in front of me. And she was the first person I did CPR on. And she didn't make it. I had to leave her in the ditch to go find help because I lived in the country. And right after that, about a week and a half later, she was my childhood best friend, my parent. I think she said. So parents divorced when I was really young, and my mom, looking back at it now, I just always thought my mom had it covered. Mom's kept always full of alcohol, and she also had a severe Vicodin addiction. And that came before any of this. So once my parents divorced, I've pretty much raised my sisters. I was alone pretty much from 10 until she made me homeless at 17. I still tried to have a relationship with her for a long time. Like years. Begged. I sorry. For anybody that doesn't know, we have become very, very great friends over the last the three of us have. And I think,
Yep.
Just don't ever read our group chat.
It's hard to follow. It's really hard to follow.
I'm thankful for you because everything that you say on your videos, well, I've admitted we're not resonates with me.
I will not edit that out. That is beautiful.
And I was like, wait a minute, like, I think I see a lot of you in me. You're like a go-getter and you love your kids and you want to be the best mom ever. And you've gone through all of these things and you're beautiful. You light up a room and you're just genuine. And I think more than anything, if I had a soul sister I could meet on the internet, I'm like, the girl is me. See it. Like, I'm so critical of myself.
No, I'm the same way. And so, like, when y'all say nice things, my brain's like, oh, well, I don't know about it.
and that's, it's hard, you know what I hear.
Or my dad definitely agrees with the beautiful part. That's going to be our slogan from here on out. Was that the second or third time we've said that?
Well, it's DJ. Your dad, we love it.
Yeah.
And it's also been difficult because as much as I see the way you are like a pillar of strength and hope and like great at what you do, I know that there's several people who have voiced that to me here in my job. I tend to be a role model for other people and the go-to. I try to always find the positive in everyone because I am not a fan of exclusion.
Nope, we don't do that here.
For alone, I feel like their voice don't matter. And so that's it. That's it for me. Everybody matters. Every person on this earth matters to me. For what you're here, you have a purpose. Everybody here has a purpose.
I agree. And that's, I think, again, with the stigma, we can have all these people tell us, you know, you're strong, you're a pillar of strength, but I want to remind you on a personal level that you can be both. And I think that's what I want to stand for more than anything is I am strong, I am resilient, I am stubborn as they come, I am determined, but I'm also sad. I'm so sad because all of these things should have never happened to me, but they did. And people are like, oh, well, this is God's plan or this is God's will. No, I don't believe that at all. I don't. I believe that things happen and God has to adjust your plan accordingly. I think that you had this path and there's all these different factors that come into it and bad things just happen. They do. And eventually someone has to stand up and say, hey, enough is enough. Like, I'm not going to carry all these generational curses that you guys refuse to deal with. Someone has to acknowledge them. Someone has to stop them because my daughter does not deserve this. I didn't deserve this, but she sure doesn't deserve this. Neither do my boys. And we're not going to have that anymore. And I think that's the main thing that I have to tell myself all the time is you can be both. You can be sad and you can be strong. And you can be resilient and you can be a little broken. But I think some of the most beautiful things in life, like one of my favorite things is mosaics, and I've talked about that on my TikTok before, is Like, you take all these little tiny broken pieces that are left and you make something beautiful out of them. And they're exquisite, and they have this light that shines through them differently than clear glass does, or glass that was never broken. And I think that's how I see people, is I think the people like me and you that have taken all these little tiny broken pieces and tried so hard to make something beautiful out of it is a force to be reckoned with, because a lot of people don't do that. They just leave those little tiny slivers of themselves and they just keep going, and then they get to where they're going and wonder why they feel empty. Because you left all of there.
Yeah, pick it up.
Yeah, take it with you. And I think that's part of why I respect what you guys are doing here so much, is because y'all have been in the pits. And you, just like me, you drug yourself out. And instead of being like, oh, there's plenty of people back there, you saw a need and you said, actually, I'm going to go back. Yeah. I'm going to go back and I'm going to get you out, because no one came for us. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the whole point of what y'all are trying to do here. It's beautiful because we just got left there. There's so much darkness and so many people left there. I can't tell you the amount of phone calls that I've gotten where people are like, hey, this is going on in my head and I feel like I'm crazy and I feel like I want to quit EMS, or I want to quit this, or I want to quit that. I'm like, don't do that. Don't let all of the bad things that happen defeat who you're supposed to be or who you want to be.
And we encounter people, I feel like, and I don't know if you notice it, I feel like, especially for me in peds and all the trauma I've had in my life, I feel like peds was my destiny.
Yeah.
Because I see little Kims all the time.
And you can be the love that they never got.
And I think we talked about that. I want to tell you two things. So I listened to both your stories, and I've heard part of Kim's, but that's the first time I've heard all of it in its entirety. I love you so much. You are like a sister to me, and I have fallen in love with you. So thank you for being part of the family now. But two things. You said you didn't believe it was God's will, right? I can tell you a story that solidifies what you just said. One of my favorite Bible stories, and I've shared this before, is the story of Joseph. And Joseph's brothers sell him into slavery over jealousy. He gets in prison for years and years, decades. He then interprets a couple dreams and becomes Pharaoh's right-hand man, right? There falls this great famine on the land. And one of the most beautiful things that I think Scripture can teach us is at the very end of that chapter, his brothers are there in Egypt begging for food because there's this famine. And after he reveals who he is, he looks at them and says, what you intended for evil, God intended for good. Solidifies my whole life, because I can sit here and write 50 things on a piece of paper that I could be sad about, or that I could hang on to, or calls that I truly believe changed who I am at the core of my person, because I can see it. I talk about this a lot. Our generation, we've had two major events that will define life before and life after. 9/11 was the first one, and COVID was the second one. And we'll always be able to tell our children, I remember life before 9/11, and I remember life before COVID. You were probably just a small child, but I was 14 years old. I remember life before COVID or 9/11, and definitely remember life before COVID, because we all worked in it and we all had to see it. It was devastating. But I think that somehow, but I think all those bad things that we can line out and say, I think that we can also look back and go, oh, that there was actually some good outcome there. And if we search hard enough, we can find that good outcome. So I think all the evil things and the free will that you talked about, that's going to have a positive outcome, because one day when your daughter is your age, she's going to be the you. She's going to share that, and she's going to share it boldly and openly. And there's going to be hundreds of people, thousands of people even, that are going to resonate with her story and say, me too. And it's going to help them tremendously to know that they've got some advocate that at least feels what they feel or felt what they felt. And that's, that's something to cling on to. If there's nothing else, there's always that piece of goodness that we can find through those nuggets of bad that we have to go through. My wife and I swear that we go through seasons, and it seems like it's almost a bi-yearly thing. And it's always a lot of bad happening at once. Just recently, her cousin, his children burned up in a fire. And 2 babies that we know that we were close to died in that house fire. And a grandfather, too, that was watching them. And it was the most devastating thing that I think I may have lived through on a personal level. 2018, this tattoo on my arm. That's my mother-in-law's death date. She died on a motorcycle accident on a Sunday morning. My wife's dad called and told us, and it was, I don't know why my brain does this, but when I hear bad news, it flips a switch. And paramedic Kevin comes to the top and get business done, do what we need to do. We can deal with it later. But the later effects are so massively overwhelming and devastating. And yes, and I do that constantly. I think that is the horrible part of doing this job for a long time, is you get that switch that does flip when something bad happens, and we can suppress our feelings down to the bottom. But eventually they're going to rise to the top. Our feelings are kind of like buttermilk. Eventually all of it's going to rise to the top. And from you being from Alabama and me being from Mississippi and Kim being from... Okay, well, maybe you should just say Mississippi for a long time. Yeah, it does. I think that it's really hard to process those feelings. It is for me. I find it very hard to process that. I can feel it, and my counselor tells me all the time, you're not sitting with your emotions. You're pushing them away. You're not giving them time. And one thing I've said over and over and over is that it's okay to sit with your emotions. That's something I've had to learn. That is a extremely hard thing to do when you're used to pushing emotions away. One of the worst things that I think I've done in my life is, and you can look right there, that's my daughter on the wall. You guys can't see it, but that's my daughter on the wall. From birth until probably 4 years old, I was the absent parent. I told one of the most guilt that I carry about one particular situation is she had colic. She was crying all the time. And I told my wife, somebody's got to work, ex-wife now, but somebody's got to work in this house. You guys go sleep on the couch. And I was just, for lack of a better term, I was a dick about the whole thing for 4 solid years. It's no wonder that marriage ended the way that it did, because it was, we were both looking for something else. I was looking for my teenage years again. And that newly married, I thought that's what marriage was going to be forever. And it's definitely not. It dwindles out. But I guess, how do you take the struggles that you've been through personally, and how do you turn it into something good? How do you be the better parent? How do you be the better paramedic from this? How do you be the better person from this? You're already doing some of it because you're sharing and you're being open. But past that, how do you go home every day? And this would be my struggle. It might not be yours, but this would be my struggle. If that little girl in that picture had the same thing happen to her that happened to your daughter, I don't know how I'd look at her. I don't know if it would be the immediate flood of emotions every time I saw her. And the anger and the frustration and going through all of it over and over and over again. How do you cope with that? How do you even start?
Obviously, you can't pretend like it didn't happen. It did. But we talked about it. We sat down and I told her, I'm sorry. And I blame myself. And she, at 11 years old, has told me over and over again, Mommy, you did not fail me. You didn't. So we have this understanding that bad things just happen sometimes. And you can't do anything about it. You can't change what happens in the universe. You're just along for the ride. And it's your decision of how you handle that. You can take these bad things that happen and you can use them as an excuse to be angry. You can use this as an excuse to lay in your bed and rot and just hate the world. Or you can use it as a way to go forward. And that's the way I look at her. Because she's not going to be anything better than who I am. Because I want everything for her. I want everything that I was never given. And I hate that this happened. I do, with my entire being. And I will hate myself for the rest of life for it. Like, some part of me will always be angry that this happened. But I look at her and I don't know how to explain it. Because she wasn't mad. And I can't. She was hurt and she was betrayed and she was upset and she had every reason in the world to be mad, but she wasn't. Her only thing, obviously we had a space in time where she was having suicidal ideations because she couldn't deal with everything that was going on inside of her head. She got put on medicine and she's doing great. But I think it was the unknowing, because for 1.5 years we had no idea where this man was. We had no idea who he was with. He had a girlfriend. She potentially has children, and that ate her alive. She said, Mommy, she said, I told my story. I told the truth. You've told everybody. We fought so hard. How is he still out? What if he hurts somebody else? And that part just ate at her over and over again. And to be so little and to be so concerned with everyone else, I couldn't let my feelings matter in all of this.
Oh, she is like you.
Oh, absolutely.
She's got such a servant's heart.
She does. And she is the most precious human being I've ever met. And I don't just say that because she's mine, because that will be the first thing I ask when I get where I'm going is what in the world he saw fit to give them to me. I have no idea, because they are the sweetest kids you've ever met. And she handled all of this with such grace. I think it gave me a peace that she healed part of me by telling me already, because she trusted me enough to tell me what happened and to know that I was going to take care of it. And that's what she told me over and over again. As I'm like, baby, I promise I'm trying. She's like, I know, Mommy. I know you are. She said, I know you'll take care of it. I know you will. And I think that just gave me the strength to just keep going. And the days where I wanted to look at her and I was just so overwhelmed and hurt and angry, I just couldn't be. I was angry at him, but just looking at her and knowing that she wakes up every day in my bed, surrounded by stuffed animals, and she's just, I can't wait to see the amazing things she does with her life. She's going to. She is going to. I know that she has such a great purpose, and if she doesn't ever use this, for good, that's fine. That's on her. But beyond this, I know she will do some incredible things. And I've never felt that way. I've never felt that anger toward her or overwhelming, and it's just been me and her. It's me and her against the problem. And he's the problem. It's she and she would live in my skin if I let her. But that's what she tells me all the time.
She said that earlier.
She's like, I'm part of you. I'm part of you. And my name in her phone is Birth Giver. And the name in my phone is DNA Copy.
Oh, mine's Spawn Point.
Or human. I call her Human Spawn all the time.
That's great.
But she is just, I try so hard to be the mom that I wish that I had.
So let me ask you this, and this is for my benefit, and maybe somebody else's benefit, hopefully. What would 2025 Mattie say to 2014 Kevin that's being a crap dad that's checking out every opportunity? Like, what do you say to those parents who are struggling with parenting? Or what do you say to those parents who are struggling realizing what a gift children are? Because that little boy of mine, he's had an incredible dad. Because I saw the error in my ways years ago. And I said, if I ever get the chance to do this again, I'm going to be up for every feeding. I'm going to hold him when he cries. I'm going to pamper him like he's my little baby. And he is. And he hates me to tell him that at 5 years old. I'm not your baby. You'll always be my baby. And I tell my 14-year-old daughter the same thing. But the reason I have so much guilt about it is because the bond my son and I have, and he is literally the same way. If I think that if I would let him, he would just ride on my shoulder all day long. And that's all he wants. He just wants his daddy. But I never had that with my daughter because I lost that 4-year bonding time. We didn't get it. I didn't try. And that was always very difficult for me to reconcile in my brain. So what do you say to those parents who are struggling with realizing what you and I now know? There was a lot back then. There was a lot. I didn't realize it. I probably knew it somewhere in my brain, but I wasn't going to let it to the forefront for sure.
Yeah. I think the main thing is just sitting down and figuring out why you're so mad. Why are you so angry? Because that baby didn't do it. That baby didn't ask to be here. You brought him here.
You're right.
And they're your responsibility. And everything they are as a person is based on you. So you need to heal. You need to figure out why you're mad. You need to figure out who failed you and who you're still blaming. And find a way to forgive them. Even if they don't deserve it. Find a way to forgive them because the forgiveness is for you, not for them.
That's what I had to learn.
Because we are all just human. We are. And eventually we have to take some type of responsibility for ourselves. And find a way to heal all of the things that we've avoided for so long. Because I'm sure you didn't hate your kid.
No,
you hated yourself.
No. I never hated my kid. I hated all the things that they, my daughter mostly. I hated the crying. I hated the work. I hated the fact that, when she was 2, she wouldn't listen. Because being a parent is hard. But it's so worth it if you give yourself to it. And I learned that with my son. And I eventually learned it with my daughter, but it was too little too late, I feel like. So much to the fact that she even noticed it when my son came. She said, "You've forgotten me." And I was like, "No, I haven't forgotten you. I still love you more than anything in this world. But I'm doing something for him I couldn't do for you." And that does take some of my time and attention. And I had to learn how to balance that. And that was a hard road too. Like having a 14-year-old and she lives with her mom. So I only get her every other weekend. So it was really hard to balance. Well, you didn't call me today. I was feeding the baby. I'm sorry. And you had to learn to balance that because things got way out of whack. So I just asked because that's my personal guilt. I don't want to be left out of the storytelling. You guys got to tell stories.
Being a parent is a privilege, not a job.
And I was viewing it as a job then.
Yeah. When you have to sit down and you swap your mentality from, I have to get up and do this, to, I get to get up and do this. I get to get up and love on this baby. I get to raise you, and I get to fix all of the things that no one fixed for me. And I get to love you, and I get to raise you. And don't get me wrong, I'm still a crappy mom some days. Some days I'm like, you know what? Y'all can have ice cream for dinner. I don't care. Because you're just tired, and you just want to out with them. that makes me the coolest mom ever. Last night, I was so mentally drained after everything I did yesterday. It was 9 o'clock and we went to Sonic because I wanted G-Sticks. And they were being so good all day yesterday, I felt like they needed a treat.
Yeah.
And my 6-year-old told me,
I'm down with that.
Coolest freaking mom ever. I'm going to let him have ice cream at 9 o'clock at night. And
These kids and the way they talk.
Yeah. And it doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't. I think we put such a heavy stigma on all the things that we have to do as parents, and it's really...
It's not.
Yeah. It's really...
And most of the time, what I've found is just what you just said. When we feel like, I'm just taking them to Sonic, I should be doing something for them. That's the best day ever to them. I was in the yard for literally 3 hours yesterday, and I made the mistake. It wasn't a mistake because it wound up being really cool. Of buying this kid, he wanted a metal detector. Somebody got him an Amazon gift card, right? So he goes on Amazon. He looks at all the things. He said, I want that. I said, son, you know that's got to be outside. He really doesn't like the heat all that much. I was like, you know it's got to be outside. He said, well, you can do it with me. I was like, yeah, I guess I can. So the metal detector comes on Amazon yesterday, and he's super excited to get it open. No batteries. We don't have the right battery. So I go to Dollar General, buy the batteries. We stayed out in the yard for like 2.5, 3 hours digging. My yard has got, when I mow the grass, it's just going to be like this. Yeah. Yeah, just avoid the internet cables. As you guys saw last week, there was no Kim because her husband cut her internet line, which was fantastic. I love doing this by myself. I'm saying that sarcastically. I love having Kim to kind of bounce off of. But we did. We stayed in the yard for a long time, and I was just like, and I had the thought yesterday, knowing that you were coming, because we've been excited about this for a month now. And knowing that you were coming, I thought about that particular question. I was like, I got to find a way to weave that in because that's the guilt that I carry. And I'm out here being what I never could have been, 10 plus years ago. And I was just thinking to myself, I have changed. And you don't realize it initially until you start looking at things and you're like,
it's really hard when you look back on yourself and you see you for who you were and you don't like it. Oh, it's really hard.
I don't.
I'm like, you know what? That was fair. It was fair that you didn't like me. Hating me was actually accurate because
when my wife and I first got together, she would tell me, I wish I would have met you sooner. And I would always tell her, no, you don't, because you wouldn't have liked the guy then like you do now. And she's even seen a massive amount of growth. And I think growth is somewhat natural, but I think also there's some work that's got to be put in there to get to where we want to be. It's a choice. When I first met her, I was doing what I like to refer to as payday loans. Now, I wouldn't go into a payday loan place and get a payday loan. I was going to the ATM and I would withdraw the maximum amount that I could, knowing I was going to overdraft my account, so I'd only get one overdraft fee. And she's like, I think what set her off to know something was wrong with my finances was that I bought her a burger or ice cream or something. And I made the joke, oh, well, that was a $37 ice cream. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was just making a joke. I didn't expect her to dig into it, And once she did, she's like, you can put your money in my account and I'll get you back on track. And if it wasn't for her, we still wouldn't have money. Because I've got a $40 mystery Amazon box that I went and bought just because I wanted to. I mean, that's just the kind of guy I am. Did I look at the bank before I went? No, I just do that kind of stuff. And I was the kind of guy that would see a $50 hat and be like, I want that. And because I wanted it, I was going to buy it. And I had this entitled mentality that I work for this money. I can spend it how I want. And so there was some growth that had to happen. So she's seen that growth, and it's still a work in progress.
I think we're always.
Yes, I do too.
When you stop viewing yourself as a work in progress, then you have bigger fish to fry.
Well, that's what I say about leadership. I've constantly said over and over that, I'm new to a leadership position, and that's been an adjustment. Him is kind of obviously my person that I come to when I'm frustrated and overwhelmed. And, I don't reveal anything to her that I shouldn't, but I definitely vent about my frustrations. And it's hard. And I've always said that I'll never be a leader. And what I mean by that is I'll always be a student of leadership. I don't think there's ever a day where I'll stop learning how to do this. And my son hates riding in the car with me now because I'm always listening to some leadership book or podcast or something. He's like, I don't want to listen to this. Play Your Ways Better, Daddy. Forrest Frank. It is a good song, but that's that or wrestling tunes from wrestlers because he's a huge WWE fan. So am I. Nerdy fact. Nobody come at me in the comments. I know that it's fake because I'm sure this will be a short at some point. I know it's fake. It's not fake. It's scripted. It's like watching ballet. It's all choreographed. I mean, just don't come for me.
You like what you like, bud.
Yeah. Yep. Kim, what else can where are we at on time? Oh my gosh. We're at an hour and a half.
We just been yapping. It's a lot to sit in because normally I sit and I talk to myself. So to sit and to have conversations like this with other people who have the same mentality, because I have a really bad problem with not being empathetic towards people who view themselves as victims.
Me too.
And it's really hard because we all have a story. We all have bad things that happen to us. We all have, we could be mean or ugly or angry, and to have people that have bad things happen and choose to say, actually, no, I'm going to do something great with my life anyway. I think that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful to meet people like that because, especially in my generation, it is such a generation of victimization and entitlement that, oh, well, the world owes you something, or I had this awful thing happen and I'm owed this, or I should be given this, or I should be given that. No, you got to get up and you got to work for it, buddy.
So what we encounter a lot, both at work and in personal lives, is we have people in our lives and in our workplace that, and we talked about this at lunch, that will have something bad happen to them or have a run of negative calls or bad outcomes or whatever. And it immediately, or bad decisions by management or whatever it is, and they will immediately turn that into negativity. And it just flows throughout the whole place. And to be honest, and this can or cannot be podcast material, that doesn't matter. I don't know how to fix it. Like from a leadership standpoint, I know that I'm not doing anything wrong, but I'm getting blamed for all the wrong. And that has become a very hard position to be in, especially when you love what you do. Like, I love leading this team. It is so much fun, and I love the people like their family. I've been here for 10 years. But this is hard.
I couldn't imagine it, so kudos to you. Tell you just the same as I tell my boss. I respect you tremendously. I could not ever do your job. But in those situations, again, people have a hard time taking accountability because sometimes they don't even realize that they are being the negativity. They don't realize that they're projecting their trauma. They don't realize they're doing it because that's just been their coping mechanism for so many years. And sometimes all it takes is being like, hey, are you okay? Do you want to talk about this? Or just having someone check on you helps tremendously. But something from someone who is between the two as professional and personal is you can't carry that weight. You can't carry their weight too. You are a leader, and that's great that you want to carry that with you, but you can't do that because you're going to eventually take that home, and then you're going to start becoming that angry Kevin again. I'm sure you don't want that.
No.
it's not your weight to bear.
I mean,
It is your job to do your job and to be a leader, but you can't carry all of their lack of accountability on your shoulders.
I mean, last week, I mean, she can tell you, I was ready to cry.
And that's okay. You can.
And I don't just cry over
We
work
do.
stuff. Clearly. You know, I don't just cry over work stuff. And that's,
But it's okay if you do, because
But
work
that's
is
a
part of your
hard-
life too, though.
yeah, but that's a hard feeling. I've cried over work, over patients and outcomes and things like that. And that feels normal. Crying over what my decisions are doing to somebody else does not feel normal to me. Because I hadn't cared before. I haven't had to care before.
But you care now.
Yeah,
Okay.
genuinely.
And you're allowed to feel that. You're allowed to cry about that. You're allowed to be upset about that. You're allowed to do that.
I hate you.
I'm just saying one, I think that says a lot about you as a leader. I think it says a lot about you as a person, because you do care. You care about how your decisions affect other people. And you're allowed to cry about that because you're responsible for these people. You are.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting shouldering not only the professional side of this, where you are caring for patients, but it's also your job to care for the people who care for the patients. And that's really hard. And it's okay if you feel like you need to cry because your decisions are either hurting someone or affecting someone in a negative way. I don't think I would respect you as a boss if you came to me and said, hey, I'm really sorry that this decision that I made affected you. Like, I would respect that tremendously, because it shows me that you're human too. I think we have this, would you say it is a hierarchy mentality of, we have like us
Right.
and them,
Yeah.
you know, how we have like your management and your team.
Yeah.
And somehow we have this separation between us because they're like, oh, they look down on us. We're just the employees. We're just this and we're just
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And if we could find a better way to bridge the two, saying, okay, well, I do care about you.
And I've literally heard that statement.
Yes, you're not just a warm body with a license and a pulse. Like, you're a person to me. And telling your employees, like, hey, I do care that this decision affects you. Like, this isn't something I came to lightly. Like, I'm sorry. You know, what can I do to support you in this? But, like, what can we do to fix this together? Because that's the point. There's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of people in EMS. There's not a lot of people willing to do this job for the bare minimum pay that we do it for. And I think if we had more leaders that did care and were willing to be human and cry and be supportive and not just be I'm the boss or I'm the leader.
I don't act like that.
But
Yeah, so many people do. And that's the image people have of a leader, just by the title alone.
it's, again, that stigma.
Yeah.
It separates it. And I hope that someday we can get to a point where we can separate from that, because I don't ever want to feel that way. Like, you may one day be my boss, but I will say, hey, I respect you on a professional standpoint, but hey, like, are you okay? Like, from a personal standpoint, like, we don't need to have this in our mind that some people are superior to us. We're all just human. We're all just trying to survive, all just trying to do our jobs.
Why? And I'm sure you can relate to this. Why is that question so heavy? Why does that question feel so heavy? Because when Kim asked me, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not. But it just feels hard to answer. It feels, I don't know
Hey,
how
how
to.
are you?
I'm fine.
You just lied straight to my face.
Well, I am fine in the moment.
But you're not, though.
Yeah.
You're not. And you've been conditioned to say that over and over and over again. Hey, how are you? Good, how are you? And you just keep going. And it's not anyone ever sincerely asking you. So when someone looks at you and says, hey, are you okay?
You stop.
It's heavy. Yeah.
It's this weight that's like, well, I wasn't expecting you to ask me that. And then you get uncomfortable. And then you're like, well, do I answer honestly, or do I just give you to the generic answer? So when someone sincerely asks you, are you okay? Or they say, hey, you're going to be okay. Because we don't hear that often. Oh, it's all right. It'll be fine. It'll work itself out. Very generic, over and over again type things. And so when someone says, are you okay? And you look at them and say, no, actually, I'm not. But we're going to make it.
And I've got this is the hard part. I've got an extremely good support system in my other leaders that I'm surrounded with, but the other leaders don't have the heart connection that I do where we work. Like, I've been a part of this team for 10 years. I know what, Kim and I talked about it numerous times. We've been through what we call the pits of hell. Like, we had horrible, horrible leadership at one time. And I never want to be that. And I never want to feel that way. And decisions that I make have weight to them now. And it's like, you go through college, you get a pretty degree on the wall, and you're like, yeah, I got a degree. Nobody prepares you for the weight that comes with your decisions mattering now. Like, I've been in a semi-leadership position for 3 years, like as a supervisor level. But there was always somebody above me that I could go, did I make the right call? Yeah, I'm more adultier adult. I don't have an adultier. I am the adultier adult. Okay. And I'm like, hell is going on?
My favorite quote is, be the change you wish to see in the world. And
isn't that yours?
Yeah, see, Soul Sisters. I love it so much. But be the change. And I think that if you take yourself out of that as the boss and you remember how you felt when you were down here and you were just the employee and you were in the pits of hell, how you wished your superiors would have handled certain situations, I think that can be a huge change. That can be the change. Because like I said, if I did something wrong, my boss and I have a very good relationship when it comes to that, where he's like, hey, you can't do this. Because I understand. I get it. But I had one of my previous bosses that I had when I was in the pits of hell was not reprimanded appropriately. If I did something wrong, I was treated very poorly, very unfairly, and very unjustly. And there was no heart in it. There was no care in it. I was just punished for something I didn't even know was wrong, And I think if you were to say, hey, this does bother me, this does affect me, how can we fix it? How can we change this environment? Because nothing is ever going to get better until you do something about it. Until you accept that it's okay to be a boss and be heartfelt in this. It means you care. If you ever get to the point where your heart's not in this, and you don't want to cry over hurting people, or you don't want to cry over your job in general, then you need to do something else. Because your heart should always be in this. And I think so many people separate their heart because it's a way of protecting themselves. Because your decisions, because of that little piece of paper, do have so much weight. You don't want to feel your feelings. It's just easier to just do the job and go on about it. And that's not what you should do.
Some days I wish it were.
And that's not
but you can't.
Either.
That's not me.
I don't think you would be the leader that you are if that was you. I don't think you would be in the position that you are if that was you.
Nice.
And I understand because you don't want to feel it so deeply. You almost feel like you're doing something wrong, but you're not. You're allowed to be both. You're allowed to be strong and you're allowed to be sad at the same time.
I feel like I need to resign my position from the host because she just took it over. She's better at this than me. Yeah, but it is.
It's easier said than done.
It's hard to have so much empathy. Yeah, and you guys feel it because you guys are the same, clearly. And if I get my way and our organization comes out of the natural healthcare financial slump that everybody's in, Kim will be my co-manager one day because she's got all the leadership capability that I have and more. She's much smarter than I am, by far. And What are you thinking?
I think we have a nice balance. There's some stuff I'm really stupid. Like tact.
I got a question. Yeah.
Call you for tact.
Yeah. You know,
How can I handle
Kim,
a situation without going to the HR?
you're exactly right. My tact is much better than yours.
My heart is there. My mouth just has trouble sometimes.
5 years ago, yeah. Now, not so much.
The engine runs good. It backfires.
Every once in a while. It's got to miss it every once in a while.
Trouble shifting gears. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is good advice. But it is hard having empathy for people.
Especially when they don't have empathy for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part.
And you can't just turn it off.
No.
No.
Try that. It does not work.
No, you cannot. And that's how you end up losing your mind, because you try so hard not to be yourself when you realize, like, empathy, like you said, is a blessing and a curse, because I'm grateful for all the things I do get to feel until I feel something that is very negative that I can't turn off. And it's that negative energy that we were talking about that's radiating from someone. And I'm like, why are you so mad? Why are you angry? It's 7:30 in the morning. Like, why are you so upset? And you want to ask them, but you don't have that type of relationship. And so, like you said, it's a heavy question. So when you ask someone, hey, are you okay? They can't decide if you're being sincere. So then it creates this like weird animosity where they're like, are you actually asking? Like, should I tell you? Can I trust you? And then they start giving you the side eye. And I'm like, sorry I asked. My bad, bro. And you don't know where to go from there.
It's so hard because I think a lot of people in this job have a level of trauma and also
I got trust
issues.
Oh, man.
I mean, the report that we got was showed, we're like, that was bullshit.
And that's,
You said they were fine.
Yeah.
and you know,
Oh,
really, that's the key to this whole thing, at our organization at least. That is, so our team has a level of PTSD from previous leadership that they have carried over to us. So it's very difficult to, that's a weird nose scratch over the mic. Yeah, I know. I should have done that. I wonder if mine had been like,
Yes.
I don't have a bicep. It's so flat. Like I need to pump iron like you do.
Good.
And there's that tact again.
Well, hold on. This was on the X-ray.
Oh, no, we've stayed, hey, look, I'm proud. Between the three of us, we've stayed PG.
We have stayed
PG-13.
PG, yeah.
I'm so proud. No one has made a sexual innuendo or nothing. Like, I'm proud.
It's been a difficult day. It's been a very difficult
Other than
day.
Dad, I feel like Dad made a really.
Oh, Dad's out. What I can't wait for is not for Dad to listen to this. It's for stepmom to listen to this. She said, because that's going to be funny. I hadn't even paid attention to the camera.
No. I think we're all like,
Look, you look completely different from one camera to another.
over here, I'm fluorescent.
Well, over here, you look like, I don't know, you look like that girl off of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that ate the blueberry thing and blew up.
Oh, yeah. The kid.
Yeah. And I wouldn't give her an ugly character.
Over here, I feel like I look undead.
Oh, you're a redhead. You can't.
This was the before and after. This was. I didn't know we were. We have solar baggage behind us after we have dumped that baggage.
Let's do our wrap up so I can piece all this together over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, hers is. So Cody's. No. God, we'll talk about that off mic. Next week is Salty Paramedic. The week following is Cody. And then it's her. No, Catherine's next, then her. So yours will come out the last week of September.
We couldn't. And he's going,
So long term,
Yes.
I want to be famous and have all the money. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, buddy.
It's not going to happen.
No. Wrong business.
So my goal has always been to come along beside somebody and give them a safe place to land and to let them know that every provider that you meet has a story too. And that most of them and most of us have felt the same thing you feel. Whether you're fire, dispatch, law enforcement, EMS, we have all been to that one call that rattled us to our core. Whether it's a cop that's been in an officer-involved shooting, whether it's a fireman that had to pull out burnt dead bodies, or whether it's an EMS worker that saw somebody's head bashed in with a hammer. Or something simple like mine that was just a kid that drowned. But something about that kid. Oh, I didn't tell you this. You know, I'm speaking at the EMS conference, right? And he is part of my talk. That little boy. So I reached out and talked to his parents. And they said, absolutely, we'd be more than happy. You know, they still think I'm some hero. Kid had a negative outcome. It was a drowning. Wound up dying. And that was really hard for me. I had a daughter my daughter was the same age when this kid drowned. And for that time that I had that kid, that was my kid. Like, that was my kid. And I worked and got a pulse back, and, you know, all the people met me outside and took the kid, and it actually happened that, like, came and got that kid 10, 15 minutes after I dropped him off. And that's what brought me to play. I saw them work, and I was like, I want to be that comfortable. Because they came in and were amazing. Worked with such a elegance and a flow that I just didn't have. I was terrified of kids. Most paramedics are. We don't like them. We don't have the right size stuff for them. We usually don't do well with them. No, my pediatrics was one day. And it was a chapter about that big. And it was crazy that these parents praised me as this hero, but they were looking at it from a standpoint as I gave them a chance to say goodbye appropriately. And that was just a really difficult call for me. But what I was going to tell you is I still remember the little boy's first name. Always will. Can see his face clear as day right now thinking about it. But I asked Shaylee, I said, do you remember his last name? I cannot remember this kid's last name, because I was calling to get my notes from the report that I wrote, 2017. And she sent me his obituary. She searched her text thread and found his obituary. And she sent the link to me, and I didn't really know what it was. But when I opened it up, I was wrecked all over again for a second. I was like, oh my God, there he is. Like his little picture. And I can still remember holding his limp body. And I was like, I still have some triggers in there from this, even though I've dealt with it and talked about it and intend to present about it. That was a really, like, I was just driving to work and opened that text message unknowingly and was like, oh God. And just immediately had to pull over and have a little minute. Because I was not ready to see his face again in reality. Like, I can see it in my brain, but it's always lived there, so it's a custom. But seeing his actual obituary again from, 8 years ago now, and I still remember the date. I still remember all those things. And just seeing it, I was like, that's Shaylee's cousins keep sharing videos on their page of their children alive that burned in that fire. I'm like, God, how awful.
It's easy when.
Yes. And what they won't get to do. That's always the hardest part to me.
Especially small humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all we do. That's all we do. Occasionally we'll get the 30-year-old with chronic genetic problems that we haul back and forth. And they'll be adult size, but
I think that's probably why my heart is called to peds and why I want to do it so much, because it scares me so much.
that was my motivation.
It scares
I was
me so
terrified.
much, and I get put in these situations and I don't know what to do. And I don't do well with that. Maybe it's the type A in me, I don't know, but I don't like not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
I don't like being uncomfortable, so my way of doing that is to
Especially as the person in charge who's supposed to know what to do.
Yeah.
That was my big hang up. There's nobody else but me. I am the help they called. And I don't have a clue. Put an oxygen mask on his chest so it blows in his face. We're on blow by at 15 liters, which doesn't help anything. But that's all we have in EMS. That's what we do.
to learn all the things that I could and take them back home, because we don't have pediatric education. We don't really have education. We have our college and you go through your EMS program, and now the company has started their own EMS academy, and that's amazing. But I feel like we don't put enough emphasis on pediatrics because they're like, oh, we don't see that often. But what happens when you do? What happens when you're in that situation and you haven't had enough education to know what to do?
Because think if it was one of ours.
And that's the way I feel. That's the way I feel is,
I would want the best.
yes, if something happened to my child, I would want to know anything and everything that I could to make sure that I give them the best outcome. Because we focus so much on our traumas and our arrests and all the things, and we take our PALS classes or whatever. But what about all the other situations? What about all the 10,012 things that kids can do dumb to injure themselves, or God forbid something else happened to them? And it's scary, especially like I said, you have this, oh, well, I need an adult, and then you're like, oh God, I am the adult, and then you say, I need a more adultier adult, and you're it, buddy. Don't know who let that happen, but here we are. And I have the highest level of care on that entire shift, and I'm like, I need somebody, maybe even perhaps an MD at this point. Like, I just need an adult. Like, I don't even know what to do.
Well, now you have a phone a friend, or at least two phone a friends.
I will call, trust me, be like, hey guys, what you doing? Help me. Like
Ingestions, like pediatric.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
It could be so many things.
Grandma's blood pressure medication. Marijuana's a big one that we see all the time now. CBD.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Button batteries. It's all different.
Oh, button batteries are fun.
The little ball magnets.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are cause problems.
Those
Orbeez.
little Orbeez, yeah.
I already
Oh, yeah.
Orbeez.
My sister, 2 years ago, punched me in the face. And we had one of the biggest fights we've ever had. I mean, like, I was ready to murder her because I don't get punched in the face well.
Fair enough, actually.
And it was the worst, but it was all over Orbeez. We had some of those Orbeez guns, and me and my brother were just tearing her up. And she finally just had enough. And we stopped shooting her. But then, of course, me being who I am, I couldn't quit running my mouth. And she just hauled off, and she hit me right in the back of the head so hard that my head almost touched my knees. I was like, it was bad. Even my dad was like, damn. Yeah. I mean, it was bad. All right, let's do the wrap up real quick. I think we've got plenty of material.
So how was therapy?
It was great. It was good. So we have enjoyed having Mattie with us, clearly. She is absolutely going to be a lifelong friend from here on out. We are so glad that she's open and honest and continues to share her journeys via her TikTok page. Mattie, where can we find you at?
You can find me at the Redheaded Medic on TikTok. I do have an Instagram. I don't use it very much. Really, TikTok is the only social media I actually am like very active on. But you guys are welcome to follow me, message me. I love to interact with you guys and hear your stories. I think people actually telling me their stories is what keeps me going and keeps me, I guess, accountable. Because some days, you know, you don't want to do this. You don't want to get up, talk about your problems, or get, what is the word, cringy comes out pretty often, or that's some of the awful things that have been said towards me. But I will take 10 people saying something awful to me if it means one person got something out of something I said. And so I would love for y'all to interact, and I'm so grateful that you guys reached out to me. I had to vet you, of course.
She did. She did a pretty much a background check.
I did. Because I get emails all the time, and I was like, that's not real. Because, mind you, this is my dream job. I've always wanted to work for Le Bonheur. I've always wanted to work for either Le Bonheur or Children's Hospital. I've always wanted to work in pediatrics. And so when you reached out to me, and I was like, whatever. And so I went on Facebook. So I went on Facebook, and I was like, oh, wait, that is actually his name. So I even went to the website and made sure that it was like the right email and like everything like that.
There it was again. Did you hear it? Right.
I'm tired. Leave me alone. I'm not going to.
Please don't fold me.
I'm not going to do that.
So what's the career path? What's next for you? I can hire you today.
I will come and work.
Okay.
We're moving back
Do you know they have an entire, which we work 24-hour shifts, so it doesn't.
Did you hear?
Shut up. They have an entire.
Enunciate. Yeah, she's from Michigan. That's what she's telling me all the time. She's like, just because you're born and raised in Alabama doesn't mean you have to sound like you're ignorant. I was like, no. I was like, well, you named me Mattie Ann. What did you really expect?
That is a very, very Southern name.
Mind you, my name is not even Mattie Ann. It is Martha Roseanne. And no one could decide what to call me. Okay?
And you think Martha Roseanne is not?
It's not. It's horrible. They hated me. But so Martha, Rose, and Ann were all my great aunts, and no one could decide what to call me. So when my great great aunt Mattie died, they were like, "We'll call her Mattie Ann." I was like, as if my life isn't complicated. Let's give me 5 names, 5 of them, the worst names at that. Martha. So whenever people see my name, because my ex-husband has a very old name too, but my name is Martha Roseanne Pruitt, they just automatically assume I'm 70. Automatically.
I'm glad you go by Mattie Ann, because I would have thought I was reaching out to her grandmother if I wouldn't have watched any of your stuff.
Yeah. So it's horrible.
It's definitely not a surfer name.
No, you're not. You're not in danger of using that one.
Welcome to the stage, Martha.
Everybody be like,
cut that out. No.
I totally put that in there. That's gonna be one of the spoofs that go on TikTok. tag Mattie Ann.
Oh God, it was awful. I'm telling you, I've considered changing it legally because nobody even knows me as Martha anyway. But I just feel bad. Like, I don't know why.
Thank God they don't have phone books anymore.
Thank God.
People be looking and Pruitt. Where's Mattie? Mattie.
People do that all the time. So
I wonder if it's Martha.
Operative IQ.
Yeah.
For our transfer or whatever. Somebody one day was picking up something from me, and they were like,
"You're in the system as Martha?"
Yes, my legal name is Martha. My diplomas, everything say Martha.
See, a lot of our stuff, like her husband, his name's William, and he goes by TJ. Where'd TJ come from?
Terry Jr. And he's William Terry.
Okay. So we have him in the system as TJ because I'm not sure that people would know who they're working with if they saw William on the schedule.
Yeah.
Because
when they went to transfer me the drugs, they were like,
Martha?
Who's Martha? And I was like, my hair's too. Just click it, let's go. Like, I don't know.
Hurry up.
That means Martha the meth cooker.
That is some little, that is some.
Joke's on you. My daddy should have. Anyway. Spent like 10 years in prison.
Oh my God. It gets worse. Oh. Was a meth head for my entire life. She died 2 years ago.
My mom.
From an overdose that she snuck into the rehab facility. That's what they do.
My mom's sober now, and she's one of my best friends.
Well, that's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is.
That is a great thing.
We had to have her come to Jesus, too, because she was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I forgave you a long time ago. Now you got to forgive you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not mad at you. You made the choices you did, and obviously they affected my life, but I am where I am, and you are where you are, and that's just how it turned.
All right, let's try this again so I can hit this end button. So, Mattie, what's next for you?
I would love to come and work with y'all, for starters. Hopefully we're getting moved soon. And I live right at the Tennessee state line, so I would love to come and work with y'all and learn everything that I possibly can.
Well, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
That's okay, because that's the way I learn best. How do you learn best? The hard way. So, love that. That is something I would absolutely love to do. And then my son has expressed to me, and I hope he changes his mind, but one day he wants to be a paramedic. And
my daughter has said the same thing.
And that's horrible. That's horrible to think that way, that I panicked, because he does not have the appropriate education that he should. And that's something that in the future I would like to bring back home with me, is a proper level of education for EMS. Whether it be a Southeast regional training facility where we can actually have our own college, because I think that that's something that we should have in the future, is a college of EMS. I would love for us to have a specialty for pediatrics, and that way we can be trained properly. I would love for us to be able to have, state-of-the-art facilities and things like that. I have big dreams, because I want my children to have everything that I never did. And that includes, if for whatever reason he chooses to stay on that path and wants to remain cold hard, that he is EMS bound, that I can give him everything that I wasn't.
So I told my daughter, because she said the same thing. Oh, we got to quit talking. I told my daughter, I told my daughter, I said, you can go into EMS, and I'm going to support you the whole way. I'm going to support you whatever you want to do. But I focused on a different part of it. I said, just know this job is not always what you see on night watch. This job carries a heaviness with it that you will never recover from. You may learn how to cope, and you may learn how to deal, and you may strengthen your resilience. But I don't think the images in our mind will ever go away. And it's been proven from war vets. 40 years from now, the guys who are in Iraq are still going to have those images and those flashbacks. And I have some very good friends that tell me that, like, that's coming from soldiers. I think that we are the same way. We're going to have things that we carry. And I told her, I said, if you're willing to carry that weight, but just know it's there, because nobody told me what it was, and I had to learn the hard way. So I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. And she listens to this, and I'm so glad that she does, because she's heard my story now. And the first episode was mine and Kim's story, part of it. But yeah, it's a hard weight.
It is. And that's what I tell all of my new baby EMTs is, this is a thankless job. People will thank you for your service.
Yeah.
They don't actually have any idea what they're thanking you.
You're exactly right. They do not.
They have no idea what they're actually thanking you for, because they see you out at Zaxby's getting food and, oh, thank you for your service. What they don't realize is you still have someone else's brain matter on your shoes, and you're getting something to eat just to do something with yourself, because you have no idea what just happened. So I hope he changes his mind to an extent, but part of me hopes that I can give him everything that we didn't have. Hopefully by the time that our children get to that point, they have this. They have this environment, that they have a bad call and they can come and they can sit and they can talk and they can listen to the veterans of EMS, and they do listen, because we have people now that they don't want to listen to us. Oh, that'll never be me. Watch what you say to the universe, baby, because I promise you, you will pay for it tenfold. Don't ever say you won't do something and that'll never be me. I promise you it will, especially in this field. You can be the strongest of the strong, but eventually it will take its toll, because this is a heavy job to carry.
Yep.
And I know people think, oh, well, you signed up for this. You're right, I did. I did. Then I'll sign up for it tomorrow and the next day and the next day until I physically cannot do this anymore, because I cannot fathom doing anything else.
Couldn't be an office worker. Me either. I've adjusted, but it's tough some days. Yeah, it's tough some days. All right. Any final words?
I just want to say thank y'all for what y'all are doing. Thank y'all for reaching out. And I just want you guys to know how important y'all are, both of you. How important it is to have the kind of people like y'all who dug yourself out of the pits, and instead of staying away from the pit, you said, absolutely not. And you went back and you said, I'm going to take you out with me. So I hope in all of this, you guys know how important. I hope you realize that the sacrifices that you've made and the changes you've made and the initiative you've taken is a big deal. It is. And I hope that it is something amazing. I hope that we see this grow and it reaches the right people, and those people that, like you were at the brink of just not coming back. They see this and they know they're not alone. And I pray it finds all the people that it's supposed to.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. How important you are, and I'm so proud of both of you.
Well, it means a lot. You're definitely helping us change the stigma. Not just by being here, not just by being on the show, but your content is helping change the stigma. So you're just as important as we are. Don't stop what you're doing. Don't stop being real. The best videos that you have are the ones where you're sitting on your couch and you don't look like this Mattie. You don't look put together. You don't look made up. And to me, that's when you're the most beautiful, is when you don't have the makeup and your hair's not done and you're real and you say, today sucks and I don't want to get out of bed and I don't want to put one foot in front of the other. That is when it's real, because that's everyday life for a lot of people. And sometimes it's our everyday life. So don't stop doing what you do. Don't stop sweating your eyebrows off. That was the best. All right. You can see it too. All right. So as always, if you want to contact Kim or I, Kim's email is kim@asilentwarwithin.com. Mine is kevin@asilentwarwithin.com. And you can check out our website, asilentwarwithin.com, or search those words. I'm not going to keep saying it over and over. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the places. I post to every one of those sites so that you guys can have maximum exposure to our content. We're excited to be here. We're excited to keep doing this. This is a no end in sight venture. So we'll be here until it's over. And hopefully it'll never be over.
We'll be doing this from the nursing home if we have our way. in
our little rocking chairs. All I got to do is sit you two beside each other and y'all just rocking and unison.
If we actually had rocking chairs, too.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the end of our show, Kim. You know what to do.
Be safe. Take care of your mind.
Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to A Silent War Within. If this episode resonated, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, you're not alone and your well-being matters. It's time to end this silent war.